I go back in my memories, and I think me and Dr. Jaber, we met in the beginning of the 80s, first 5 or 6 years of the 80s. It was a coincidence that I met him at a doctor's office, and I didn't know at that time why he was at that doctor's office. Then I found out that he is the owner of that office and he is a doctor. Since then, I think we clicked our minds, our hearts. We had a talk. And then, as of that day, we became so close. It was the honor the honor was mine to meet such a generous man, such a man that is really unreplaceable in our community. Uh, After 9/11, things were getting tough to the Arab communities in the United States, especially in New York, especially, and in the United States in general. Dr. Jaber thought that we have to stand up and we have to start defending ourselves. There was a community task force was formed by the DA. Dr. Jaber was the leader on that. While we were together, he thought to do the Arab American Association. Dr. Jaber was the main pillar of that Arab American, and still is the main pillar of the Arab American Association, with late Basima Atwa, may she rest in peace. Him and her, they started this association, nothing but for service, nothing but for the community, nothing just to stand up and say, guys, we are not what the media is trying to say about us. This is who we are. This is what we do. I joined also Dr. Jaber and late Basima Atwa. She came to me, I think 1983. I'm sorry, 2002. 2002, I joined the Arab American Association with Dr. Jaber, and then we started recruiting people. Dr. Jaber gave us this location is his office, his practice, that he volunteered to give it to the association so it could take off and continue until now. This office and the place that we are in, that's Dr. Jaber's practice office. If you look at Dr. Jaber, try to analyze his personality, he is one of those that it's impossible to imitate. You think that you sit down with him, he is your brother, he is your father, he's the man that is going to take you to the shore of peace, to a place that you never expected to. He always thinks that he is one of the people, and he is not the commander, but actually the way he acts, the way he behaves, the way he leads, he is a leader. He started leading the community with the Arab American Association by contacting all the government offices, by going himself over there, by putting himself in the front lines to defend our community. He is a leader indeed, but if you sit down with him, you think he is the soldier and he is not the captain. Actually, he is the captain. You know, since my relationship, and I call it like me and him, we are really, really very close and brothers, like family. I know he suffered when he went to Iraq. By the way, let me take you back. Dr. Jaber, at that time, he was only Ahmad Jaber, the student in the high school. He was the second position on the on the Jordanian kingdom of the high education. So he got a scholarship to go study in Iraq as a doctor. And while he is studying as a doctor, the 1967 war broke. He was not allowed to go back. He graduated from Iraq as a doctor, joined the medical force in Jordan. Since he was on a scholarship, he has to mandatory serve for certain years in Jordan as a doctor. Then, since he could not go back to his country, Palestine, he was not allowed, he was forbidden to go back. He started looking for a better chance, trying to move to the United States. I think he migrated in 1976, June 1976, to this country through a friend of his that he studied with in Iraq. The gentleman or the doctor was from Pakistan in Queens, in one of the hospitals in Queens. He met him at the airport with all the issues and the difficulties he has to go through from trying to get out from the service that he had to mandatory serve in Jordan. And the king, I think, had to give that pardon for him so he could move, to come here to a country that the English in the United States is a completely different English from what we learned. We had the English accent and the English England from England. That's how we studied English back in Jordan and Palestine, to an American accent and American words that are not known to us. So it was very hard for him. And this is a documentary that I recorded with him. So I'm not going to say it here. You're going to hear it from him personally. And he started from 1976 his rotation, not rotation, I'm sorry, his residency in Queens for 1 year. I think 1976 or 1978, he started with Lutheran Medical Center as a resident, and he finished from there as a OBGYN, أو طبيب نسائي. Dr. Jaber is the pillar and the icon of the Arab community. Everybody looks up to him, to his achievements. He started from an immigrant to a doctor in this country. And we are talking in the 70s, when doctors were really, really rare, whether in America or overseas. The guy has extended his hand to everyone. I think, if I am not wrong, he delivered over 5,000 babies. Imagine 5,000 babies. Who are going to not remember Dr. Jaber? He opened his first office on somewhere on the 50s and Fifth Avenue in Sunset Park. Then he moved on the 70s, another office. Then he opened his office here, 7111. Everybody, when you say Dr. Jaber here, everybody goes immediately. It's the guy that gives, the guy that started our community to get them together, the guy that will never tell you no, the guy there was a story yesterday how his legacy is. A gentleman walks into the mosque, and he is one of the imams in Dawood Mosque downtown. The guy was in a very big position in Egypt. He came here. He never met Dr. Jaber. He told Dr. Jaber, I need $15,000, otherwise my family will be in the street. Dr. Jaber wrote that check, did not even hesitate or ask him, when are you going to give me the money back? The story I just got to know yesterday from the Imam Abdullah at Dawood Mosque. The legacy of Dr. Jaber is the icon and the man that we are all looking up to be one day like him. I don't think anybody will be like him, with that great heart, with that mind, that open mind that led us and get everybody to know us, where we stand, what to do for our kids in this country. As I said before to you, when you sit down with Dr. Jaber, you think he is that ordinary guy like you and me. But actually, when he talks, you feel that leadership in his voice. You feel that leadership in his brain. Everybody thinks with him. He sits down with anybody. Anybody walks, his office was open. His secretary never stopped anybody from going in. If I remember, if you have insurance, well and good. You don't have insurance, well and good. One of the incidents that I attended myself in his office, the woman came, she's pregnant, she just came from overseas. Her husband is a doctor, she's a doctor. And then the secretary says, Her husband asked the question, how much it is. So the secretary says, whatever you want to pay. If you don't have money, you don't have to pay. So the guy was shocked. His wife was shocked. And they went into Dr. Jabber inside and they asked him. He said, listen, you're a doctor, I'm a doctor. One day maybe we meet. This is how humble he was. He never charged them any money. They walked out. Until today, they are still in connecting. They are connecting with Dr. Jabber and thanking him for what happened. At that time, they didn't have the money to pay. So what more a humble person you want to see, that he never cared about money. He was paying the rent here. He was talking to anybody in the street. They stopped him. Oh, doctor, listen here. Can you please ask my doctor to continue my medication? He picks up the phone, comes back to the office. Those times we didn't have cell phones. Goes back to the office. He calls Dr. X or Dr. Y. Hey, listen, I have Habib as a patient. Why? Please fill up his prescription. If you don't have the money, he will ask you, do you have the money to pay? If you don't have insurance, no. Okay, send him to such and such pharmacy. He picks up the phone to that pharmacy. Habib or Muhammad or Ibrahim, please give him the medication. I will pay for it. Of course, the pharmacist will never charge doctor. This is the kind of person Dr. Jabber is. There's a lot of stories to mention about Dr. Jabber and generosity. I don't know if he will approve, but I will tell you two things. The first thing is this office that we are sitting in, that we are still conducting our business. He continued paying the rent along and going out, asking people to help, not to pay the rent, to pay the salaries that for the people that we hired, me and him, and still paying the rent in here. He was paying the rent, which is minimum rent for the mosque. As I told you before, for that gentleman who came, he wrote him a check for $15,000. It's the first time he met that gentleman. It's for the first, he didn't even know who he is, just told him that, me and my family will be in the street if I don't pay the $15,000. The rest, he said a lot of stories that I have documented by him, and I would like just to leave it because we're going to bring that documentary and put it up.